G'day folks, Lone Mojo here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at New World's Starstone Barrow expedition. However, before we get this video going, if you do find it useful at the end, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. That'll really help me out. I'm also streaming live on Twitch and here on YouTube, and you can find the link to those in the description below. But now let's talk about Starstone Barrow. So a couple of things in advance you probably want to know. Starstone Barrow is the second instance in New World, and there's no main quest to push you there. Now, you can pick up some faction quests and side quests in Everfall, but the main story won't take you there. You're also going to need a tuning orb, so you're going to want to try and hit up some corrupted zones with your group in the lead up to things so you can get those corrupted slivers. Now, the entrance itself is just north of the Amarine expedition and just to the southeast of Everfall. It's a pretty quick run. Before you get into the crux of the instance, there's a few things I'll say up front. Firstly, you're going to want to bring AoE DPS. So single targets are great for bosses, but there's a lot of trash mobs in this instance, and it just makes it a lot easier if you've got at least one AoE. I'd recommend maybe a fire staff build mage. Secondly, for this video, I'll be fast forwarding through a lot of the trash mob fights. They're more or less the same. There's a couple that I'll highlight, but most of them are pretty easy just to blast through. Now, looking at the path we take in this dungeon, it can be a little bit confusing because you end up doing a bit of backtracking towards the tail end of things. So this map should give you an idea of the path that you'll end up taking, but I'll discuss it as we get there. So let's get things going. Ancient Halls is the first area you're going to come across, and it's a pretty standard thing. There's a couple of guys you've got to kill, and at the end there is a AEST staff door that you have to open. Just one thing I did want to note, in our run here, we have a healer who is sort of underleveled for this instance, which made things a bit more difficult for us. So we had a few deaths that we probably would have been able to avoid. We did compensate for some of this by having myself switch to the life staff in those situations. However, without the appropriate characteristics skilled up, I was less than optimized. The sealed chamber again is pretty straightforward. However, it does introduce one of the new features of the dungeon that you have to be aware of, and that's the laser beams. In this section, you can crawl under them, as you'll see us do later, but other times you'll need to time going under them based on when the laser beam is going up and down. Once you get through the first laser fence, you'll find a respawn point. Tom, you're going to have to go first. Once you're through into the Forbidden Passage, this is where you come to the, puzzle element of this dungeon. This is a pretty tricky area to navigate your way through, and there are lots of little places that you can fall and die if you're not careful. The first thing you're going to want to do is just take the step to the left. To get past this next laser, you're going to want to go down to the side on the right-hand side. And it is worth noting that there are a couple of little holes in the ground here that you can fall down. And you'll see that one of our players falls down here. Oh, no! After going through the next moving tripwire, you should end up on a little landing. To climb the stairs, you're going to need to take a bypass to the left. There's a little ledge out over the abyss, so you're going to want to jump on that, and there's a jump that you have to make across that, which again, one of our players doesn't survive. Once you're successfully climbed up onto the plateau, you're going to want to take the left-hand passage, and again, you're going to have another laser fence that you've got to go around. This time, you can jump onto the ledge on the right-hand side, and this should let you walk under it and make it to the safe side. Now you just need to follow the path around to the left, and you should see some scaffolding or woodwork platforms that you can make your way up. There's a skeleton there you should be able to take in short order before you have to jump across another ledge. Once you're safely into this section, you're going to need to make yet another jump. You're going to want to stick somewhat close to the electric fence for this one, and then jump to the platform on the other. Once you've defeated the enemies, you should be able to follow the ramps up to a little jump that you can make, which will take you into the sort of center area of this room. You're also going to find a shrine which has the ability to press E to gain protection, and whoever gets this will basically use their Azoth staff to create a protective bubble that will let people pass through the laser fences. Make your way down the hall and you'll have gotten through probably the most difficult platforming room in this dungeon, and also found a new respawn point. There's not much you need to worry about with the Amphitheater room in general. You should be able to just fight your way through. It's just trash mobs with an Azoth staff at the end to open the next tunnel. The next room is the Shattered Obelisk, and you're going to visit this room on a couple of occasions. These enemies you can probably handle in one of two ways, one being to individually target them and try and control the fight. The other is to just round them all up and go to town. That's what we did. It got a bit chaotic, but we got there in the end. Once they're dead, you're going to need to climb the stairs and take the path to the left. It's the only path you can go. There's a laser fence on the right, so it's going to stop you. But yeah, you want to go to the left and sort of work around the obelisk in the centre before heading back downstairs. And you'll find laser walls on either side. And at the end, there is going to be another door that you need an Azoth staff to open. Through this door, you're going to find another checkpoint. And directly ahead of you, there's going to be a big wooden door. This is actually where the final boss is. You just can't get in yet. Instead, we're going to take the door to the right, and this is another Azoth staff door. In the halls of the crypt, it's a fairly straightforward section of the dungeon. There's just one part that I want to call out, and it's sort of a mini boss fight that you have to be wary of. And it's when you get to this protection portal area. You're going to find a couple of enemies here that you need to focus on, and in particular there's one that's going to summon other enemies. So you just want to make sure you take care of him. Once they're dead, you're going to be able to collect the protection staff and make your way through the next laser wall into the next section. Once you've gotten through here, you'll have to dodge some more lasers, and you'll find another checkpoint before stairs that lead upwards. This will take you back into the Shattered Obelisk area, but you're coming at it from a different angle. And at the top of these stairs, you're going to have a couple of ads, and then you're going to have an actual boss fight. Now, this guy will summon ads, so you really do need to be careful of that. But like a lot of bosses, he has a yellow stamina bar, so this means you can stagger him. So you really want to focus on doing heavy hits and trying to contain the ads as they spawned and keep them together so you can AoE them down. When we did this fight, it was very messy, so hopefully you do a little better. Once defeated and everyone's patched back up, you can take the stairs down to the right, where you will find another protection shrine that will let you cross some more laser walls. And in fact, you've passed these ones earlier just before you found the boss's final chamber's doors. Cross both sides of this, fight some enemies and collect some loot. But our actual goal here is to go back to that central obelisk.
Everyone get over to the things. Alright. I have this staff. Everybody follow me through the lasers. Okay, which way are we going now?
I think we come back up this way.
Oh, yes. This makes sense.
Now, you should still have someone with the staff who's able to protect you as you go through the next laser tripwires, and this will take you to the inaccessible side of the obelisk that you passed earlier. And your goal here is to activate the switch that will turn the tether off. Once done, it's time to backtrack. We're going to be heading back down the stairs, and this time we're going to go through the laser field on the right-hand side, and we're going to make our way back through towards the halls of crypts. Now, enemies are going to respawn here, so you've got to be careful, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem. And we're going to work our way all the way back to the antechamber, where the boss's door was, which you should now be able to access. As with most bosses, there's a spawn point right before the door, but if you die during the instance and you can't be revived, you'll respawn outside and you won't be able to get back in. Okay, time for the final boss, and there's a couple of things you need to know before running into this fight. Firstly, this is a two-stage fight, and when you defeat her the first time, she's going to crumple to the ground and you're going to pat yourself on the back and you're going to think you've done a great job, but she will revive herself. The other main mechanic you have to worry about is the bones that she will throw. Periodically, she's going to launch these, in our case, exclusively at our healer, and these bones will both damage you and they'll summon additional enemies that you have to worry about. Our strategy for dealing with this was to send 1 or 2 DPS over to burn down the bones. However, you may need to assess this on the fly, and if your 2 DPS aren't enough to do it, you might need to send all 3. It's very important, though, that you keep these bones managed. Now, as I mentioned, there's a second phase to this fight, and when this occurs, the boss will crumple to the ground before reanimating herself. She'll then start using her second phase mechanics, which basically is where she launches herself into the air and then smashes into the ground, causing a wave of damage to come out. How you deal with this will depend on your group as well. There are 2 approaches here. One is to have everyone bunch up together and have your healer lay down a healing circle and sustain through the impact. Alternatively, you can all spread out. This gives you more of a chance to dodge the shockwave that comes out, and this can be dodged if you time things right. Now, the shockwave will knock people down and it will slow you, so if you can dodge it, you're going to be better for it. Now, in our instance of this fight, the boss did something weird where she started throwing the bones into the laser barrier that separated us from dead players, which meant there was one less thing to manage. So you can try this glitch if you like. I'm not sure how we managed to trigger it. I think it was just a player who was too close outside of the area and became a target for her. But if one of your players dies, maybe they can try that. However, the rest of the fight will be a combination of throwing her bone, attacking with the swords, and doing her leap attack. So if you can time the rhythm of things, you should be able to burst her down. And that's it. That's all you need to know to get through Starstone Barrows. It's a fun instance with a few different aspects to it, including the puzzling of getting through the laser fences, as well as some potential spots where you can get turned around. We got a bit lost when it came time to doing the backtrack. We weren't really sure what we were supposed to be doing. So hopefully this video helps you out if you get to that stage. And if you've got any additional tips for this dungeon, make sure you pop them in the comments below. And until next time, take care. Phones. Yes! Yes!